I figured out how they're gonna do it. Like, have you noticed how the financial systems all over the world have been collapsing? And it's been insane how much everyone's currency is almost worthless now. In 1965, 1 hour's worth of work would buy you 1 ounce of silver. Guess how long you have to work today? Almost 5 times as long. That means for every hour our fathers worked, we have to work 5 hours to provide the same living for our families. It's not because silver's more expensive, it's just that our US dollar has become completely worthless. Oh, and don't forget this one. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Because let's face it, almost nobody can buy a house these days. Know how much 2 weeks worth of groceries cost when I was a kid? $20. I went to the grocery store today for some basic necessities and it was $117, Joe Biden. We're talking like Band-Aids, cleaning supplies, and a light snack. And some hummus because every now and then I like to nosh. Here's the fucked up part. You have 2 generations of people who didn't have to study civics, they didn't have to study government, and if they got a D, they still got them go on to the next class. The youth these days thinks that government is a popularity contest, not what they actually bring to the table. And anything that doesn't agree with their sensibilities, that's racist, phobic, Nazi, whatever. I'm tired of hearing it. Back in my day, we'd take little shits like you, give you a wedgie, and shove you in the locker. So in case you didn't notice, Matt Gaetz introduced a bill that would allow the government to take Bitcoin payments. Now don't get me wrong, Bitcoin is a wonderful medium to exchange currencies at a high rate of speed between 2 different places. It's amazing. In a certain lens, basing your entire financial system on Bitcoin is worse than fiat currency was to the gold and silver standard. Tell me, what do you think would happen if an EMP went off all over the world and crashed every single computer in the world? Why do you think people like Mark Zuckerberg are building bunkers in Hawaii away from everyone? Why do you think they tried to get that land cheap? We don't know whether it was a laser strike or not, but it sure was really weird. If now suddenly everyone is broke because all of their money was in Bitcoin, what do you think will happen next? You will own nothing and you will be happy. Meanwhile, all the New World Order elites are safe and sound in their little bunkers. Meanwhile, we just got hit with an EMP and we own nothing and nothing works. Welcome to Slavery 2.0. You know every single ruling class has been planning and plotting because they play the long game just like Sun Tzu. Because if they can't rule it, their grandchildren will, and they'll make sure of it. It's almost like going back in time and putting a penny in the bank and then going back into the future and collecting your billions. And their idea is to collapse the financial system, have control of the food supply and every other necessity, and then when they crash the financial system by EMPing the Bitcoin, and they can do it selectively, they can just do one country or another, and take their time taking over the world. You make a situation bad enough, people are willing to give up their freedoms. And if you make a situation bad enough, not only will the people do that, they'll beg for it. I mean, you've already seen those attitudes already. Meanwhile, people are struggling to make ends meet. And there's Nancy Pelosi showing all the different flavors of gelato she has in her fancy little French door fridge. Think they're better than us. Wake up. That's why the founding fathers constructed the Constitution the way they did. And it's the one big roadblock from the New World Order trying to take over everything. Because the First Amendment protects our right to say what we want to say, and you've already seen them try to attack that by censoring us for the last 6 years, probably longer. And the Second Amendment protects the First. Because if you obviously can't exercise your First Amendment, that means you're already living under tyranny, and that's why we have the Second. It's not for hunting. I must be psychic or something, because this tinfoil hat is making my head hurt. You know, because it's all reflecting all inside of there. Yeah. Shut up, I'm batting 1,000 for conspiracy theories. Go fuck yourself. Hi, Bob. Fuck you for ruining Star Wars. Let's be honest, if it wasn't for Elon buying Twitter and turning it into X and allowing us to have a platform to mostly speak our mind, we would already be living under the thumb. We wouldn't have been able to ask the big questions to see if the vaccine was safe or not, and thankfully not everyone took it. Some people did, some people were adversely affected. We still don't know what the long-term effects even are. If it wasn't for Elon buying X, we as a global community would not have the ability to speak our minds and share our thoughts. And some of them, correctly so, have been very contrary to the narrative that's often pushed by the media. And now we learn that the media has been bold-faced liars for God knows how long, and the CIA killed JFK. Russian dossier was a complete hoax. Then we discover just how much we've been meddling in the affairs of other countries for at least the last 100 years. It's just a natural progression. I mean, the actions kind of worked against communism with a few failures. There's a couple holdouts, but even they have a thriving black market, and that's capitalism in action. And then you have paid shills like Harry Sisses on these nuts, to poison the minds of the other low information voters who hate the news. I mean, how many bold-faced lies have we caught Harry in? Tinfoil Yamaha. Okay, but let's say for the sake of argument, we don't even have to worry about an EMP. Just look at what money is worth. People are struggling to pay rent. People have to choose between, do I buy food this week or do I pay my electric bill or do I eat with a candle? It's ridiculous. Used to, 30 grand was a decent salary to strive for. It was enough to get you a place to live and get you started in life. Now it's a joke. And this is what we pay teachers starting out with a 4-year degree. Not to mention the powers that be have been trying their damnedest to get everyone to hate the one demographic that has an overabundance of bankers and accountants. Listen, that one stereotype is true. We do like money. Not that we're cheap, but we do like money. It's nice to have things. Still waiting on mine, but yeah, we do like money. But you're not going to need bankers and accountants when the New World Order controls everything. Be sure to do your jumping jacks in front of the telescreen, and don't forget to take your soma. Which brings me to another thing, identity politics. That's another way they're undermining our civilization. If you make sure that everyone has a box to belong to, and then you make them sit in that box, and that's how they have to identify themselves, how is that any different from Nazi Germany? Only you have a whole plethora of options to choose from. Just make sure that they all hate each other. Because we can't fight back if we're fighting each other. And they know that there's more of us than there is of them. What a lot of people don't get is that the Bill of Rights was the document to let the government know what their limitations are, not what our rights are that were bestowed upon us by the government, because our rights are bestowed upon us by God. Because our rights, our inalienable rights, are bestowed upon us by our Creator. It doesn't matter what name you decide to call our Creator by. Don't worry, atheist, the same God you don't believe in is the same God I don't believe in. Mine's much bigger than that. The thing is, they've taken freedom of religion and twisted it into being absence of religion. And that's not what it was ever intended. It just meant that you were allowed to practice your religion as you saw fit. With the understanding that your exercise of your rights doesn't interfere with the exercise of someone else's rights. And we have these Olympic class morons like Harry Sisses on these nuts trying to advocate to surrender the rights that we are secured not only by God, but they're codified in the Bill of Rights. No kidding. They don't want people to speak freely. They don't want people to own guns. They want to be absolutely controlled. It's like they're begging for it. The thing people need to realize is that if there is ever a Civil War 2.0, it's not going to be one side fighting the government. It's not going to be one side fighting the military. It's going to be one side fighting you. We have government agencies who assassinated a sitting president and covered it up. Assassinated the patsy and covered it up. And then they assassinated that guy. 3 bodies deep just to get rid of Kennedy. And you got Nixon to get us off the gold standard. And then what happened to him? He had to resign in shame because of the Watergate scandal, which Hillary Clinton got kicked off of because of ethics violations. And now look at her. Apparently you have to be a criminal to be successful in government, which is why we need to demand term limits. Nancy Pelosi, Lindsey Graham, and several others need to go the fuck home. Strom Thurmond, how many years was he in office? He freaking died in Congress. This country is not what our founding fathers envisioned. In fact, it's quite the opposite because the people live in fear of the government. It should be the other way around. The government should live in fear of the people. That's why our Constitution was written the way it was. A government that is allowed to act on the behalf of people does so at the consent of the people. And our government needs to remember that. How does the preamble start out? It doesn't say the United States government does hereby declare. It says we the people. And our government has forgotten that. And you governors aren't off the hook either. You guys need to be getting together and talking amongst yourselves. Maybe even declare a constitutional convention because there's some issues that seriously need to be fixed. God knows our representatives aren't doing it. I know there's at least 38 states that are very unhappy with the way things are going, and you only need 34, so make it happen. And Then you know what happens? Congress has to stop all their bullshit and address the Constitutional Convention that was called by the states. It means no more stupid laws get passed. Not only that, but I think some people should invoke the 10th Amendment because, let's face it, there are some really stupid laws on the books, and some of those we need to just wipe clean and start over and do them correctly. Make those representatives and senators actually work for a change instead of kissing babies for money. The government was supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's not that anymore. Now our government is formed by political elites that are always guaranteed a job as long as they're playing for the right team. I'm telling you, that bullshit needs to stop. And let's address the elephant in the room. Obama's the one that's calling the shots. He's a third-term president. Everybody knows it. Biden is not coherent enough to form a complete thought, let alone a sentence. I never thought I would hear myself say this, but John Fetterman makes more sense than Joe Biden does. I'm actually starting to like John Fetterman in some regards. How many people do you know that have a stroke that it actually fixes their brain damage? Let's face it, liberalism is a mental disorder. In order to take over society, you need to control the narrative, need to control the media, you need to control the education, you need to control the financial system, you need to control the healthcare and the food supply. And then the last thing they need is the control of the energy supply and the means of production. These are all interdependent because if you collapse the financial system, now I don't have money to buy raw materials to build my own electrical generators, produce my own power. So now I'm dependent on the state. That's what they want. Sensei will feed us the bugs and we will own nothing and we will be happy. Does anyone notice that all of those people are kind of around from that same general Nazi area? Then they got their little package boy Zelensky to deliver the goods. Извините, пожалуйста, Vladimir. I'm sorry, but that's what you are. You're a package boy. Don't forget 10% for the big guy. He's not even coherent enough to spend it, so it really makes me wonder where that money's actually going. What's he gonna buy? More pudding? Oh, and adult diapers. Yeah, I forgot about those. It's getting all squinchy! And they've got it all figured out, so we don't talk amongst ourselves. The blacks hate the whites, the Mexicans hate the whites hate everybody, everyone hates the Jews, so everyone's fighting amongst each other, and we can never talk and get ideas across and make everyone understand that we're all getting fucked equally. Yes, even you liberals that think you're superior to everyone, you know what we call you? We'd call you the overcapos. You would be the collaborators. And if everybody's pissed off at each other, we just have everyone shoots everybody like the Purge, and then whoever's left that hates guns comes up and moves the bodies. Sticky ones get turned into glue and the fresh ones get turned into milkshakes.
They're making our food out of people.
And the crazy thing is, the people in the know have been trying to warn us through the media. 1984, Brave New World, Starship Troopers. Look at PCU. Go on any college campus in America and that's exactly what it's like. You got your freaking cotheads, you got your stoners, you got the people that just don't give a fuck and flunked out but they still hang out. And idiocracy, we're headed there. I had a college freshman that didn't know what the hell the Magna Carta was. It's only the single most important historical document in the history of the United States. I had 4th graders 2 years ago that couldn't read a clock. Half of them couldn't tie their shoes. Fractions, forget about it. But they learned all that by the time they got out of my class. And not to mention we're doing things all in the name of diversity, but if you do the actual math, it's not diversity, it's replacement. When they say the Oscars be too white, it's like mob doublespeak. What they really mean is white people are here, we need to get them out of here. We demonize the traditional nuclear family because there's a lot of demographics that have a lot of single moms because their dads never came home with the milk and it might hurt somebody's feelings. Boo-hoo. Just because somebody else's life sucks doesn't mean you have to punish everyone else. It's like the way we lowered the bar for the stupidest kid. It's all in the name of diversity and inclusion. Yay! Shut the fuck up.